hello. Good evening and welcome once again to another episode of Caribbean Feedback. My name is Curtis Henry. I'll be your moderator this evening. I'd like to welcome our regulars, the regular panelists. We have a full house and most importantly, on time.
That's right. We need to clap them up tonight.
It's a pleasure to turn on the screen and see everyone sitting there instead of someone rushing in at the last minute with some papers.
No, with that cheese sandwich.
Trying to act as if they were busy.
Yeah. That little cheese sandwich.
Welcome one and all. Do we have any activity in the... Oh, yes, there we go. Miss Sherry-Ann Sylvester, pleasant good night to you also.
Sherry-Ann
Lucy O'Brien.
Tonight, boys. Sherry-Ann beat Lucy tonight.
Doing?
Lucy. Is Lucy
How are you doing?
Neck and neck.
Neck and neck.
That's what's up. Good night, ladies.
I hope everyone have their notepad because I am presuming that everyone will be dropping some gems this evening when it comes to this entrepreneurial game, when it comes to business, when it comes to black business. I am hoping we all have questions. I am hoping we all have suggestions, most of all. And I am hoping that we all have advice that we can share. I'm hoping that we all have our shovels that we can unearth some of the situations that we're not aware of. Let's stir the thing up because something wrong. Something needs to be corrected. Sam.
Yes, sir.
I'm generally not the one to conk, but could you tell us, please, which episode are we at right now? Where are we?
Well, we have to do the exercise. We have to do the exercise. You all have all your hands ready? 10.
I have one.
20. 30. 40. 6.
Episode number 46.
Episode number 46, man. Play smash up.
I am always a positive thinker. Always someone who thinks positively, looks ahead with great anticipation to everything. But when we started this episode number 1, I still didn't foresee episode 46, where we're creeping up on episode 60. Uninterrupted. No commercial from day 1 until now. Uninterrupted. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to thank each and every one of you all for your tenacity, for your commitment. Give yourself a round of applause for sticking with us, sticking through this thing, and making it work.
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers. Get your coffee or your drink or your juice, man.
No, put your finger on the commercial button and let me get the thing going.
I hear you, brethren. I hear you. So let me just find out from the production man. We run in 2 and then we run in the others later, or you running? What are we doing? We just running it?
Well, yeah, we're gonna run 2 from now. Let's run 2 from now. We anticipating a guest joining us shortly. We should have been on by now. So keep.
We have 2 guests. They're having a drink in the green room right now. Yeah.
Okay. So when we run the commercials, you bring Mr.
Bring them from the green room.
Yeah, bring the relative on.
All right.
From the green room once you run the commercials.
All right. Cool.
My name is Karin Forrester. I represent BantuKreations. BantuKreations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in wonderful shapes, shades, sizes, and colors. Please don't be scared of the large sizes. They're extremely lightweight earrings. BantuKreations can be found on IG and on Facebook as BantuKreations. That's BantuKreations with a K.
I'm Gina.
What's up, everybody? I'm Win Vu, award-winning remixer.
Koya, I'm an artist. Hi, my name's Justina Bethel.
Hi, I'm Mike Bowen from Denton, Texas.
How you doing? This is Tom Cutt from Music by Tom Cutt. Check out Samuel E. Archer's book, Hybrid Executive. We are in the business, and here's how you can be a better business person because you're running your business.
You can find my music at JustinaBeth_EL on Instagram or JustinaBethel.com, and I am a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive, just like you.
Follow me at Koya Music, and I'm also a hybrid executive.
I'm worldwide, baby, but just know I'm a hybrid executive. That's all you need to know, baby.
Get on up, B.
Check out my music, MikeBowen.com. I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
Yes. Now, I just paid attention to that commercial there. Could you bring in our guest, please? Mr. Barnes. I just paid attention to that commercial. Are you in the commercial, Sam?
My name is in the commercial.
Your name is in the commercial.
My energy is in the commercial.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we just saw there was a commercial for Mr. Sam Archer from Muzilog for his new book. I will still call it new because the information is forever relevant. For his new book entitled The Hybrid Executive, which each and every one of us here on this panel is a hybrid executive.
Yes, sir.
Karin Forrester, thank you so much for your contribution from BantuKreations.
Yeah.
As we proceed in the program, we are going to introduce Miss Barnes and my endeavor. Could you please bring in Winston into the conversation right now?
Hi, Winston.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Barnes. Good evening. Welcome.
What's up?
Okay. Mark Chase, could you introduce yourself for the listening audience, please?
Mark Chase. I run Chase Audit Services. We do both government and private audit counseling, as well as CPA work. That's the totality.
And where can we find you, sir?
You have to contact me via my cell phone, and I will give that out to anyone who requests.
Thank you. Sitting in with us this evening, we have a very... Now, I know this gentleman. I know him well. I've known him for quite a few years. Met him on a few occasions. I don't know if he remembers me. But we just have him down as Winston with a small W. No. This man is so much more than just the first name. So much more than just
man-made label, correct?
I got tighten him up.
Yes, sir.
Curtis, you just told a big fat lie.
What is that?
You told him you know me. If you knew me, you would not expect a big W or a big title. Judith will confirm that. Don't worry.
No, well, I wasn't looking for the title, but by no means should we ever refer to this man as anything small. Anything small.
Are there ladies in this room or what?
Oh, yes. Well, at times, sometimes they may not conduct themselves as such. We do have ladies.
Don't start no more Dina. Don't cut that out.
Okay, let me just give a little idea of what it is that I do. There's this Caribbean-oriented station in South Florida, which you guys can listen to on the internet, where I am the news editor. I also host a talk segment on mornings on that radio station, WAVS 1170. I also, for the last 18 years, have sat on the municipal commission here in the city of Miramar in South Florida. I am preparing a young lady who's going to college next year. I'm going off to Jamaica in another couple of weeks for the wedding of my big daughter. And that's it. You know everything about me now.
If you don't know, now you know.
You know.
So this evening, We here together to put our heads, our minds, our hearts together, and let's discuss the series for this month. And we start this one off, Black Business. Yesterday, May 31st, marked the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. The Greenwood neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma was one of the most successful Black economies in American history. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the entire story today, but this community had about 10,000 residents, Black residents, where they control their own banks, their hotels, their own stores, funeral parlors, barbershops, churches, schools, hotels, and the list goes on. They even controlled their own press. They had their own newspaper, people. What this all means is that every dollar spent within this community, it circulated for about 35 to 100 times before it left. Some of you may or may not know the story due to some, I call it jealousy. I don't care what was said in the news. The neighboring white communities decided to do an invasion. And yes, they dropped bombs from above. They came in and they burned stores and they break in, they looted, they raped. The police force locked up the victims in cages while the white community was allowed to pillage and destroy this community. So don't you ever think that we can't do it. We did it before, we can do it again.
Amen.
99 years later, COVID-19 showed up and single-handedly almost collapsed the world economy. Many of us view this pandemic, however you choose to refer to it, as a curse. Some say it's a curse, while others looked at it as an opportunity. No one should emerge out of this with any of the same excuses you've used over time. Like, if only I had enough time, and if only I just had a little few dollars to start my business. No, you got how many stimulus checks? You have income tax check coming up.
Yep.
Okay? Stop using the same excuses. This podcast is as a result of COVID. We took advantage of the opportunity to use platforms like Zoom and StreamYard, and we decided to come together and do this. Here we are, 46 episodes in, uninterrupted. In this present day of America, every other race is well represented. The Arabs, they are well represented in every profession as doctors, artists, actors, and within the private sector. Nigerians are some of the most highly educated immigrants in this country. Let's look at ourselves for a minute. This global hair market that we patronize, it amounted to about 85 plus billion US dollars in 2017, and is expected to go to 102 billion within the next 3 years. This US is the most lucrative hair care market in the world, generating upwards of 15 billion US dollars in revenue. Somewhere along the line, people, the majority of us, meaning Black people, we have become nothing but consumers. We depend on almost every other race for everything of value, while simultaneously manufacturing or producing very little for ourselves. Am I correct in stating such, or maybe I am simply misinformed? Mr. Barnes, what are your thoughts on the balance of economic power we possess as Caribbean people in America?
We make a lot of money. That's the first thing, because we work hard as anybody, maybe harder than anybody else. What we do with the money is where the problem lies. You talk about the dollar making a number of rounds in a community before it leaves. These are practices that we can borrow from a number of other ethnic groups across this country. And none of this is new. None of this is new. As you mentioned at the top, the whole story of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma is proof that Black folk can achieve under the meanest, most vile conditions. We have proven that. The reality is that the healthcare system in this country would fall down and mash up if our people chose not to go to work tomorrow.
One day.
That's just the reality. That's just the reality. Okay?
One day. Sure.
My problem is that I don't know that we appreciate this. I speak on my program 3 times a week, and I am a little bit encouraged over the last few days where people are saying to me, "Ooh, I didn't know about this, the whole Greenwood thing," but others are saying, "Hey, I knew about it years ago," which means that there is hope that our people are looking around them. Understand, for example, that my first visit to this country was before all of you were born. Oh yeah, I am sure. I ain't asking, I'm telling you.
Mark, stop.
That's not a problem. I'm telling you, I'm not asking. I went to New York in 1967. I spent a year at
No, man.
See, I'm telling you, I know these things. Anyway, talking about being in the streets of Harlem the morning after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. They'd suspended my student visa. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
A state trooper grabbed me by the neck and flashed me out to the street. I was back in the street at another position at 125th and Lenox, I think it was. I say this to give you a perspective on the way in fact, that very weekend, I was in the village, and among the people, I think it was her apartment, was a young lady who was, we're told, having a baby for Stokely Carmichael. He was those days. So we're talking about that death that I've come through. I think part of our tragedy is that we have not dealt deeply enough into our history. We have not appreciated what it is we are. I give you one of my major challenges. A lot of us come from the English-speaking Caribbean. And as soon as we land, we have a number of serious problems. First and foremost, all of the problems back home, we can solve them. We are a day in America, and we can solve all those problems back home. In fact, one of my callers told me years ago, he said, "No, Mr. Barnes, they can solve the problems from the plane take off in Jamaica." But I think more crucially, more critically, it is part of our responsibility to understand the journey that Black folk have taken in this country over the last hundreds of years. I keep telling people, you come and the first job you get, your white boss says to you, "No, you're not Black. You're Barbadian." You know what I'm talking about. They're playing us. I, on the other hand, I'm on this job in 1969 in White Plains, New York. And this poor man, I mean, he was on my case for the whole day and I had to shut him down. He says, "Why are you so rebellious?" I said, "Look at the color of this." He never spoke for the rest of the day. I think it is part of our responsibility as Black folk from the African diaspora, as we land in this country, try to understand what it is that Black folk have been through. Once you understand, your job is to next share with them your reality. Any of us from the Caribbean, once you've been to, say, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, there are basically 2 responses from African Americans. I gotta go or I ain't leaving. Hardly anything in between. One Black American says to me, "Damn, even the cops are Black." Yes. And I don't know if you guys know the story about the cops in Barbados. Barbados had the first Black police officers. Know why? The white people in Barbados, post-slavery, did not trust each other. So they formed a police force that was Black. Those are the realities of where we come from as a people. I am convinced that, like anyone who travels, you bring with you the best that you have and share it with those you live amongst. And I don't know that we've done enough of that as a good a job as we can, Caribbean people. Business, we make. See with me, this is my heart pouring out. We assume that because we can cook, we can open a restaurant. No! Cook good and get somebody to manage it for you. And those are the areas that we've made. Although, in one particular case I know, and these are the examples I like to share. A friend of mine for a long, long time has a grocery store. Once her daughter was in college, you could tell a difference in the store. Apparently she was doing marketing. And in the store, you knew what to find on what aisle after her daughter was like it. Okay? My nephew, one of my best buddies, he offered to help a mom and pop store in our neighborhood to do marketing. It hasn't happened because that is not seen as, I also know at the other end of the spectrum, someone who specializes in selling BMWs. I have absolutely no doubt that is a multimillionaire. He's Jamaican. I met him 40 years ago. Why? He learned the realities of this country and started processing it from his perspective. And I'm telling you, there was a major event this past yesterday, I think, yes, or was it Sunday? No one would know that he was the sponsor of it. So what do? Send our children to school. I went to college when I was 25. I went to graduate school when I was in my 40s. It can be done, okay? And basically what you are doing is you are preparing yourself. You are acculturating yourself to understand this place you live in and to not only strive but thrive in this society. And how do we do that? We understand, for example, probably the best investment you are going to make in your life is to purchase a home. Black Enterprise Magazine had a 10-point, like we would say, direction to success or whatever. And one of the things it said is that home ownership is not riches. It is the ability to build wealth. Okay. We don't come from that kind of orientation. We come from a situation, no, you buy this house and you live in the house, man. Don't get me wrong. I have the incredible privilege to have paid off 3 houses in my lifetime. One in Jamaica, thanks, buddy. One in Jamaica that we had to go through a settlement situation, but I've since repaid it off again. The house I live in, we finished paying for it 5 years ago, which means that after it has improved in value by 100%. My daughter cannot have any kind of pain when she goes to college next year. That is not richness. That's not money. That is wealth. And those are the things that our community have to understand. Okay, how many times have either of you been asked, you just got here, you bought a house already? And part of it, part of that people don't understand. You can't tell everybody the whole story. If you lived in 13 different homes when you were growing up, you want one for yourself.
Well, Pat, you mentioned something in the opening, Mr. Barnes, talking about the Tulsa massacre, when you said a lot of people were totally unaware that this situation ever happened. And then a lot of people like you and I would say, yeah, man, I know about that long time. Is there something missing there in the sense that those of us who know supposed to teach?
I have a fully pulpit, so I don't have that problem. I write and I talk to people every day, so I don't have that problem. And in fact, one of the names I like the most is when callers, they have a million names to me. one of the names they call me is Professor, which I actually taught for 10 years. That has been my mission, to share with our community the reality that they live in, that they came into. And I've said to people, listen, your job as an immigrant is to, one, understand the insanity in which you live, find ways to navigate around it. That's our job.
Mr. Barnes, I have a question. With the history, as you both articulated really well, why do you think that Black people to this day, across the board, I think that's what I've seen, they will look at two companies run by a Black person, one by a white, and they still are inclined to go to the white business owner, thinking that they're going to get a better quality service or whatever product? Why do you think that mentality still exists?
Because we're delusional. That's all. Okay, let me explain. Okay, we come back to the whole thing of entrepreneurship and so on. Harlem, USA, the Harlem that I knew, all of the stores, say on 125th Street, were manned by Black folk. You know who owned the stores? The guys with the deep pockets downtown, but they understood marketing. There's a Jamaican Chinese restaurant on Biscayne Boulevard in Miami that if you went in there 30 years ago, you'd assume it's owned by some white Americans. No, there were Chinese Jamaicans who owned it. They understood marketing. And I think part of the problem, and it is a weakness that we have as a people, where, for example, every entertainer wants to be the guy who goes out on stage and is given the microphone. When in reality, if you wrote 5 of the songs that were going to be on that concert that night, you're probably collecting more than the singer, you know. I think we, for example, in my situation here, the guys who take care of our lawns, for years we had this gentleman who was Costa Rican. But we might as well call him Jamaican. I hope you guys know the story with Jamaica and Costa Rica, the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. When Marcus left Jamaica in 1918, that was his first stop. What will it happen in our community? No, not using a Jamaican. Can I mess up the... Find the one that works. Our current lawnman is Jamaican. He's a businessman. And he's courteous and he's polite. He's going to work for us indefinitely. So at the radio station I work, a few Jamaican guys were working on the building. And I called them one side. I says, listen, I want you to do this job the best way you can. Because this job can lead to referrals. So back to your roundabout way to respond to your question. I don't know that we are sufficiently informed. I don't know that we are sufficiently educated about the value of that dollar going around in our community as many times as possible. And I think what is sad too is that we've been suckered by name brand. Okay,
Mr. Barnes.
Oh yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt. You don't recall me. I met you some time ago, representing some folks in Monarch Lakes in Miramar, who were dealing with HOA fees.
Okay.
And your earlier statement, you talk about 1967. I was here a little bit before that. But all right, okay. Make me a young man. Make me a young man. But we met. I want to say with my friend who writes for. Well, he owns a newspaper, a Jamaican newspaper down in South Miami, and we were trying to pin down, audit Monarch Lakes, the subdivision, because they were charging Caribbean owners higher HOA fees. We actually brought it to the city, and I proved through audit that this was true. and I had the pleasure of shaking your hand and discussing different things with you. Now my hair is white, so you might not recognize me. But everything you've said is on point. We're in a strange way, we're delusional. When I was trying to represent these people, and these were mostly Caribbean people, they didn't want to deal with me. They didn't want to deal. Oh, we need to take it to, my friend Joshua, who was a Jewish CPA. They didn't want to deal with me. They didn't want to deal with me. And Joshua said, "Oh, you can't pay me enough." I said, "I'll do it for free." Whoa. Because I lived in Monarch Lakes.
Okay, buddy.
I'll do it for nothing. And that's how that came about. I ended up doing it for nothing, but it got me more business.
There you go.
I gave nothing away.
There you go.
I gave nothing away. It was my time. I'm going to work anyway.
Yeah.
I would rather give something to my own people than take something from them.
Wow.
So everything you said is just on point, man.
I tell you why what you say is so important. Now I'm thinking about it. This is going to sound horrible, but my medical practitioner is Jamaican. In fact, she went to school with my wife at Wolmer's High School in Jamaica. My tax preparer is someone who I went to school with his son at high school in Jamaica. And I think in retrospect, I don't even know that it was deliberate. I think on the part of myself and my wife, I think it was just automatic that this is what you do. People will call me, for example, of late, and they'll want a public adjuster. There's a proliferation of them that advertise in our radio station. And there's one particular person that I send people to, not just because he's African-American, but he's worked for me. He's worked for my mother's house. Do I have a choice but to? And I mean, it's not as if he's just that. He does good work. I mean, I've sat with him. I mean, forget being on the air with him, but I've sat in the bank and seen him operate. And on top of that, when we had a settlement for my mom's house last year, I'm thinking this is going to take weeks upon weeks. It was done in a matter of maybe 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm going to continually refer people to him. It is, I don't know. I mentioned the whole thing about brand names. My big brother, Jeff, used to say, "You're not wearing none of those." He says, what he'll do is get a buckle with his name on it for the belt. Which is a great idea. Why not?
You see, part of that, Winston, what we have failed to realize over the years, these name brands, a lot of them that we support, they are family businesses. We are supporting family business. Wells Fargo is a family business. Many of the other names are Walmart is a family business.
Why don't we know these things?
Somehow a lot of us are not aware of that. So when I take my name and put it on a logo, on a label, and said, "This is mine," your own people look at you like, "Well, who are you?" But who is Mr. Walmart? You never question that.
Listen to me. My brothers and I, we are told that we dress well. It's not something we can help. It comes from our father, our grandfather, our two grandfathers. I am thinking that like there are Brooks Brothers.
I dress well too here. Sorry. What? I dress well too. Sorry.
Oh, we know that. I talk about... anyway, let me make the point.
1 second. For the listeners who are not aware, these two here are brother and sister. That's Dr. Judith, but that's Dr. Judith Barnes, and that's Mr. Winston Barnes over there. That's her elder brother.
No, let me explain why I put it this way. we've heard for most of our lives, especially those who lived in New York, about the Brooks Brothers suits. Why not the Barnes Brothers?
Yeah.
One of my good buddies is a bespoke tailor that lives right here in South Florida. Why not? You know, and I think some of us, including myself, are not the boldest in taking ventures out of the box. But that doesn't mean I don't understand the value of doing things like that. And I think what happens too is that we don't understand that the guy who owns that name brand, he doesn't even know that you bought that belt because it passed many chains to get to you. Basically, the guy who's selling it is basically just collecting a royalty. It comes after the music thing. You think about Marley. Marley is going to continue to be rich 1,000,000 years after his passing. I mean, I'm in the hardware store yesterday, and there's a version of a Marley song. That's earning money. You know, until we understand that we are physically putting money in somebody else's pocket. Okay, listen, the reality is this. If you look at TikTok, for example, you can, with the right tools and the right materials, create virtually anything. What is stopping me from creating a belt buckle with my name on it? Buy the other cheapo belt in the street, switch out the buckle and put mine on it. That's the kind of creativity that we need to move towards if we're going to understand. Okay, see, listen, you tell people, for example, that the business of America is business. That's the reality.
What can you tell us about the importance of building relationships? And I think that sort of falls on deaf ears in certain communities. Building relationships is, you know, in business, interpersonal and business relationships.
It is easier than we think. I'll tell you how. Two friends of mine owned a grocery store. They'd sell meat as well. I go into the store when they had already closed the register. He says, no, next time you pay me. I go to my barber when I never have money on me. There's no money in my pocket. He says, next time. Not everybody's going to do that. Someone in our immediate community. So what you do, you have created a relationship right there. And it's a simple case. You wash my hands, I wash yours. I scrub your back, you scrub. You cannot go and do that in Publix. You cannot do that in Winn-Dixie.
But what about the flip side, though, Winston? What about the flip side?
Tell me.
What about the family members who now come the minute you open up and they say, give me a prize? you don't have no family discount.
You really want my answer? Right? You really want my answer?
Yeah, let me hear your perspective.
See about Rockstone behind the counter.
Listen, Winston. I think it was last week, I shared with the group that Jeff in New York would have these dances, different clubs in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and wherever. And I remember occasions where I went and I insisted on paying to get in. And Jeff and his wife, Pansy, would say, no, you don't have to pay. I said, no, this is a business.
Yeah.
You paid to rent this hall. I'm going to pay. And one night I was on the door and the band was coming in. One bring a stick, one bring a cymbal. Everybody wants to come in without paying. I said, no. And y'all know I'm crazy already. See him talk about Rockstone, so you understand where I come from. I told him, no, you can't go in. You cannot go in. The fact of the matter is that that stick in your hand don't mean a thing to me because you don't play no instrument. That's not an instrument.
Yeah. No,
he's using that to come in so as not to pay. Listen. So
Jeff had a dance to 41st Street, White Plains Road one night. Who presents himself at the door? My longtime friend, Jacob Miller. No, Jakes, you have to pay no boss.
Yeah.
You have to try and make a little money. No, boss, give me your money, you know.
Yeah.
What we have to understand, there's a classic story that is told. By the way, I'm gone over my 20 minutes. Anyways, there's a story that is told about this guy who crashed a dance, jumped the fence. Any of you know what a cream surge pants is? Anyways, fancy pants from a long time ago. He tore the pants going over the fence. When he got inside and met up with his friends, how much you? It's a free dance, man. What do you mean? He ripped his pants, jump in the fence. The dance was free. It is a mentality that we walk with, and if we don't listen, I think the best lesson, especially Jamaicans, but all of us can learn, comes from the people who are sometimes called higglers in Jamaica, informal commercial importers. I'll give you just one anecdote. I have a lot of work to go do. This lady, I was bringing up my mother-in-law from Jamaica, and we sat with this lady. There was a fire in the mall downtown Kingston that really, 2 weeks before Christmas, burnt up the stuff, the goods, the merchandise for these ladies. When we saw her that Saturday morning taking the 7-something flight out of Kingston, she had just come off the Nightbird from New York. Her son came to the airport to pick up the stuff. She went around the corner, bought another ticket, and was coming to Miami to buy more stuff for her Christmas sale. That, in my book, is a top-tier, top-of-the-shelf business woman. The reality, especially in the tough times of the 80s, in the 70s into the 80s in Jamaica, most of the fancy name stores would not survive if it were not for these higglers. And I'm not hearing those stories. I'm telling you, being at one of those stores, see the higgler drive up and open the trunk and unload the shoes.
Mr. Barnes, you were in New York. Do you remember the quarter parties? You know what that is?
No.
All right. Somebody couldn't pay their rent.
I know that. Which is
you have a party. Everybody, we call it quarter parties.
Yeah.
And everybody pay a quarter. But it's a quarter for every inch a woman's waist was over 24. And every inch a woman's waist, a man's waist was over 28. So the little MAGA gals, you let them in for free.
Why not?
The big gals, you let them in and you make sure they eat good for the next party. All right? And people will get the rent paid, the Con Ed bill paid, the children clothes bill paid, and will often start a susu behind it so that they could buy a home.
Yes, sir.
They could buy a home. Yeah. And the area I lived in, Brooklyn, most of the homes were bought from Susu. Now, unfortunately, we got stupid and then moved to Long Island. Because we're stupid. Because them houses over there on Jefferson Avenue and all them places worth $10 million now, where the little house they bought in Long Island worth $1.35.
Yeah.
So we're stupid.
You know something? Guys, I want to share this with you. I worked in the prison system in South Florida. And I remember some of the inmates talking to me about money and, they sold drugs. A lot of them sold drugs. And I remember saying to one of them was 25. He was on his way to England. And he had swallowed some balloons with that sea stuff in it. Miami, they caught him. Maybe he was looking funny in his face because his stomach was about to bust. But they took him to Miami Hospital and they pumped him.
Yeah.
And he looked at me at 25 years old and told me, I was 42 at the time, and told me I had planned to be wealthy by now and have and I'm telling you, I look at him, I said, shut up. I said, shut up. I said, who dare you talk to a grown woman that way? I said, are you crazy? I said, who gives you the right to think that you're supposed to be wealthy at 25? Doing the things that you're doing. Then I had the guys who come in, and after they come in and they lose all they sold the drugs and everything, and they come in, no money left. And I said to them, I said, the kind of business sense that you have to sell dope to somebody who look like you, that eventually will kill somebody who look like you. Yeah. The business acumen that you have to distribute and sell, and you mean to tell me you didn't have enough sense to even take some of the money and dig a hole in the ground and leave some in there. So every time they go, they have to start over again.
Yeah.
And I said, no, it's not right what you're doing. But at least do it, you have some business sense. Use it. But you're talking about the stores and stuff. My son knows. And this is the name brands. When we go into a store, all that colorful, fancy stuff up front is for black folks, It's not for the white people. That stuff up front, $300 for one skirt. I went to the Sawgrass Mall when I was living in Florida, and I saw a skirt. It was $98. So I asked him if it comes with a body, because there's no way I was going to buy it for $98. So the thing is that when you see the things up front, it is meant for us. So what? Because I hang around those light-skinned people, and I watch them, and I learn. So you know what I do? I go to the clearance rack. Same name brands. Of course. We were out shopping, and Toots right here in Georgia. My sister and her son Wayne was waiting for Tyne. Tyne was in the store, and I know Tyne, so I wasn't worried. He said, "What's taking him so long?" I said, "Don't worry about it, man. Tyne, I make bargain." I go in there, Tyne going from one clearance rack to the other. Yeah. He's 24 years old. Yeah. And he was just talking to me a while. You know what he was talking to me about? How his car note got paid out so fast.
Yeah.
You understand? So he knows to go get a zero balance and pay off that blouse and skirt and move on. Yeah. But the thing is that the Bible says it is clear. For lack of knowledge, a people perish. And when we try to educate other people who look like us, the anger, because as Karin said earlier, it's like no matter how much knowledge we have, when we look like this, our own people have a problem believing it.
I hope, and I gotta run, guys. I am not giving up. I keep telling you, I have to have hope for me to get out of the bed in the morning.
Right.
Yes. My hope resides in our young people. Yes, I'm stupid. And the best mirror I have in my life at this moment is called Hannah. Hannah, for example, she does not like to go shopping. So we're talking about college tuition, and she has laid down a number of stipulations. She's not going to have a lifetime student loan to pay off. I said, but no, we don't take it. That is no, Dad, we're not spending that money. Okay, but I should have learned years ago. She was in elementary school, and they had to get teams jerseys. She wanted to get something for the Heat, Miami Heat. We spent 13 minutes in the store. She found one. The size was right. You ready, Boogie? Yeah, Dad. I timed it. We were in the store for 13 minutes. So something she has picked up along the way. I'm going to talk about other things now. And this Sunday, she and her mom went shopping. She bought a Jimi Hendrix vinyl. She bought a Purple Rain cassette, and she has the Walkman to play the cassette. My nephew Frank, who lives from me here, one of my best buddies in all of my life. He's my nephew, but in fact, his name is my name. Anyways, why? I've seen him get up and beat work. My daughter just put herself through what I consider grief over the last 4 or so weeks, preparing for her exams. So what is happening now? She's sleeping all over the place. I says, but you could do this. I says, the cop ain't gonna come lock you up if you're sleeping. And I think that is our responsibility as grown-ups, Don't say things to your children. Show them, model it. Hannah doesn't even want to have money. She's not interested. She now has her own debit card, which her mom taps up when she needs it and so on. But there is something that is necessary for us. And Judith is a classic example where Tyron is just an incredible young man. For him to have pulled what he has obviously pulled from his mom and his extended family, it is what we have to do for our young. I taught college courses for 10 years, and I discovered why I was doing it. I tell you, teachers don't make no money now. Many of you thinking of teaching, not that you shouldn't. Teachers don't make no money. I tell my students how much they were paying. I mean, that's just an adjunct. My students laugh me to scorn, but the idea behind it was to give back.
Yeah, Mr. B, before you leave, that was my next question for you to cover before you leave. You see, so many of us arrive to this destination we call success. And somehow we forget to leave the door ajar for someone else to get in. How important it is for us to reach back or reach down and help someone else over that wall and not just relish in this state that we call success and think that we've made it, we've arrived, so later for everybody else. Tell us about the importance, before you leave, about the importance of us reaching back and helping out your fellow man.
I don't know that we have a choice. I'll tell you why. We have all taken for granted what not our parents, not what our grandparents did for us, but we take for granted what our neighbors did for us. My brother Ed and I talk about the ladies at my church who we know prayed for us. Okay? There's no question that they prayed for us, if only because they were friends with my grandmother. Okay? There are people, and I'm not even saying it doesn't exist anymore. There are people in your neighbor, for example, in some of the roughest parts of Kingston, the biggest, baddest man on the road. You know what his job was in the mornings at 7 o'clock? To stand at his gate and make sure everybody was going to school. Okay? We have no choice. And how do we give back? It might mean, and I don't care for the word volunteer, because that has become romantic, but share with young people what got you from one place to another. I went to college in New York in 1973. The only money I had was to pay for 1.5 semester. I graduated 1 year early. Grants, not a single loan. Knowing what is available, applying for it on time. Listen. My sister Betty, our sister Betty who passed years ago, she says, what you do, you're in a situation. You ask her what is not even coming to you. I'm sure you guys have seen it. You've been in a line and you say somebody take out a WIC card, and I'm sure what they call them where you guys are. A food card, whatever. Government.
Food stamp.
The lady who pulls it out in front of me, the shirt she has on probably costs $120. She is milking the system. I had a co-worker up to recently. After you've met him for 5 minutes, he will tell you that he's legally blind. Which means down to the computer in his house, they pay for it. I'm not saying we should do this. I'm saying understand the resources that are available and share it. For example, my biggest thing for the maybe better part of 20 years, do not ever allow your child to go to the financial office at high school or on campus at college and have financial advisor send them to the loan department. Millions and millions of dollars in scholarship funds are sent back every year because young people are not applying for them. There is a scholarship for short people. There's a scholarship for people who are left-handed. Spend the time on the computer instead of playing silly games and apply for it. Our
research.
job, that teaching, that sharing, it has to begin in our houses. Because, as I've discovered with my daughter, so many of the things that you share about your growing up, about your background, guess what? It gets to their inner circle. She has a little crew. The pops, she's not here, so I'm good. They're called the pops. Apparently, there was a major discussion recently about the fact that one of our grandmothers was East Indian because one of her friends is Pakistani Indian. Our children need to know these things, and that is one of the ways that we give back. Explain to them, have them understand, no doubt, education is supreme. There are a lot of rich people who throw away their money because they are dunces. A classic example, there is this guy, and I don't think it was dirty money. I thought he won the lottery. He bought a brand new Lexus. But every now and again, he'd go visit this friend of mine. Can you use your bathroom? You don't live no place. He had to come to his friends to get a shower. He's driving a brand new Lexus. But I like to tell people, I drive a luxury car, Lexus ES300. As of now, it is 19 years old. It still works.
My gosh.
And guess what?
Oh, gosh.
He died. What?
Oh, gosh. Oh. Mr.
What
Barnes.
did I say?
Him soon tell you, Winston.
Do you know the man they call Paul down West Park? This man has been around forever.
Okay.
Now he leaves, let me tell you what, he leaves the bar at 4 o'clock in the morning. And he comes out and goes on Miramar Parkway. Well, look, and he got his own little yellow jacket.
Okay.
He's not a crossing guard. But he plays one on TV.
Okay.
And he leads these kids across the street every day.
Wow.
Led all of my kids across the street to West Park Elementary.
Oh, man.
And he says, you stay in school and you keep going so you don't end up like me. He has been doing this. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
2004 is the first time I saw him. And the man still got liquor on his breath because he just left the bar. But he is there every day. And the parents expect him. Expect him there.
Yes, sir.
Look, and they bought him one of them, what do you call it, Hurricane. One of the fancy 3 thing came because he can't get around so good. Now, and he stands right in the middle of the street. The police don't bother him. He's directing traffic, bringing kids across the street. He is not authorized to do anything. He's not authorized to do anything. But every kid knows him.
Wow.
And he makes sure they get to school. That's what I call giving back. He may not have much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He may not have much.
It is.
He got enough to go to the bar.
Maybe that's all he wants. Yeah.
So the lesson at the end of the day, each one reach one, each one teach one. We all have something that we can offer of value, and it is important that we reach back, help those who are in need. Mr. Barnes, I will stretch out my hand one day and ask you when I am in need. So make sure you give me a number in the chat. So let me know when I can reach out. Since you're both, hold on, you done say you're here from 18, whatever year you come America, you already tell us that. You're here longer than me. All right, so when I reach out and I say, Mr. Barnes, help me, I hope that you're there to give me a sound word of advice.
Guess what? I know the people to refer you to.
You know the
well, for real. That is my value. because of the guests on my show, for example, I know people. And a day hardly goes by where someone doesn't call and say, by the way, I am basically an information broker. And that I want to think is one of the values I offer the community. People even call on the air to get this kind of information. Because one of the things you learn, especially if you're relatively new to the US, you do not know where to find what. Sometimes
find the resources. Yes, sir.
You know.
So, Mr. Barnes, I'd like to extend this invitation for you again. Not so much for Caribbean Chat, but we do have another show. I have another individual show called Caribbean Chat. For Caribbean Chat, and I'd like to do a one-on-one interview with you where we can sit down and vibe, you know, and come back with chat. All right. I want to thank you, but before you leave, please tell the people where they can find you. We know that you hold another position in Miramar. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. Tell us about your public office. Tell us what you do there in about, let's wrap it up in about a minute, and tell us where we can find you.
City of Miramar, Commissioner, seat number 3, elected to office first in 2003, was re-elected this past March. 4 contestants seeking my seat. I won 67% of the votes.
And whip them blows and skirts.
But what brings that though is that I am not one of these who seek the spotlight. I think I'm here to do this job of work, and that is what I've tried to do. Just as and the one thing that I'm probably the proudest of, I was sitting on the commission maybe 4 months, and all of a sudden here comes a vote for a raise of pay for the commissioners. I was livid. The vote was 4-1. Right then and there, without much thought, I said, you know something? The difference in salary is going to go to put into a scholarship fund for young people in high school going to college. So about 5 years ago, I turned over $20,000 to this community organization, and young people from the 2 high schools in the city get a scholarship fund, a little chop-ons going off to college. That is what I am about, and that is what I sought to do. I'm not going to be the first to run off at the mouth and going to be the person who says, I'm not going to promise you I'm going to give you a job either. What I will tell you is go to our website, look at the website. If there's something you think you can manage, put in the application, and I will call somebody in HR. And in so doing, I helped to employ a young man that saved the city millions of dollars since he was employed 8 years ago. Why? They were sending out fire trucks and so on to be serviced by outsiders. He brought them back inside. The police department went off once to look at this incredible piece of equipment that they want this mobile headquarters in case of emergency. It would have cost maybe $6 million. Mark, you probably know the story. Why? He said he went along with them. He said to them, by the way, guys, there ain't no road in Miramar you could turn this around, you know. And guess what? The fire department wanted one too. And he said to them, guys, I see now. Good, but we ain't got no road to turn this around in Miramar. I wanted to
drive all the way over to 75 and go around.
And come back up.
And come on back around. So, Mr. Barnes, here now on a public forum, I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to tell you first. A couple years ago, someone was soliciting me to run for a particular seat in my city, here in Lauderhill, and you being a veteran in the political field, someone I look up to in radio, in broadcasting, could I be your mentee?
Next time around? Maybe not.
Oh, gosh.
I'll tell you why.
I want to follow in your footsteps.
No,
if I have to do such, I'd like to learn from the best.
I know, but let me tell you why. I don't do politics. That is where if you want to understand what public service is about, we could talk. The politics. In fact, when I was entreated to run for office in 2003, one of the first questions I asked was, does one have to declare a party? Because if I had to declare a party, I would not run. Politics, my wife asked me, you keep talking about politics and you don't like politics. Politics is a part of your life. What I have a problem with is party politics. That is where my problem is. And some of us behave as if we don't understand the difference. We do. So if you want somebody to talk to you about, listen, my election campaign this year, you want to know who ran the campaign? Me. And my wife was the treasurer. That's it. I'm serious. I ran. Why? Because people will join your campaign only if they think they can make a money from it. In one of my campaigns years and years ago, someone says, okay, so we're going to sit you at the phone and we're going to give you a few numbers and you're going to call these people and ask for donations. I said, that ain't going to happen. Listen, one candidate this year, when I signed in early January, had collected $80,000 to run her campaign. I garnered a grand total of either $10,000 or $11,000. And they still have to pay me back for some of the money, which means we didn't even spend off $10,000. What my campaign is about is reminding people that I'm here, and these are some of the things that I've done over time. But this whole thing of making a noise in people's streets, knocking on them, I've never, maybe my first campaign, I knocked on doors. There's a friend of mine, she sits on the school board in Broward County. She says, years ago, she says, no, you can run on your record. There are people who believe I should use my radio program to tout what I've done. No, this time around I did because I wasn't playing. People are talking rubbish. We did have some of these online conversations and people even questioning my affiliation to my church. A church I started attending when it was 4 months old. And my response to this idiot was, that same church you're questioning me about, this past Christmas Sunday, I read the lesson. So if you're interested in understanding how this thing works, how to connect with people in the street, how to understand the system you work in, I'm ready. If you want to deal with the politics side, wrong person.
Okay, well, I never used the word. You brought it up. But once again, Mr. Barnes.
I want to clear it up. I want to clear it up.
Me never use. I never say nothing about politics, sir. You brought up the word. I say to learn from you. And whatever you bring into the table is what I am willing to grasp, what I'm willing to absorb like a sponge.
Curtis, I have your number. We'll talk.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to talking to you again.
Okay, buddy.
Good night. Thank you for joining us, Mr. B.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Dr. Judith Barnes. I'm an author, a playwright, poet. I'm also a broadcaster by training. And I recently found out about 2 years ago that I can paint paintings, which means I paint sceneries, I paint landscape, I paint animals. I have just discovered, and so that I can do this. And so along with all the other gifts and talents that I've been blessed with, I have paintings, and they are on view and for sale on Etsy and also on Facebook. And if you desire to order any painting or order one of my books, because I'm also an author, please give me a call at 470-564-8267. That's Dr. Judith, and the number again, whether you want to just talk to me or order one of my paintings or one of my books, please feel free to call 470-564-8267. Thank you.
Hello there and welcome. My name is Curtis. Over the past few weeks, as we were putting the final pieces together to get the show on the road, some people ask, why do you need to showcase Caribbean people? Why Caribbean Chat? And I say, why not? Because we as Caribbean people have worked too hard, come too far, and suffered too long for us to continue taking a backseat. It's time for us to rise up, speak out, and show the world the value and the richness of our culture. So I'm providing a platform to showcase the history and culture of Caribbean people in entertainment, the arts, politics, sports, and economics. We will explore the many profound contributions they have made to society. So we invite you to stay with us as we launch what is to become one of the greatest voices of Caribbean people, for Caribbean people, by Caribbean people. On this platform, Caribbean people of excellence get to tell their story. Our aim is to ensure that your contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. Welcome to Caribbean Chat. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are Caribbean Chat.
Hello there, and welcome once again to the second part of our show this evening, Caribbean Feedback. With us this evening, we have a very young-looking gentleman, Mr. Keon Reed. I'm looking at the boy's face, and he looks younger than my son. But somehow he's here to discuss business. He's here to continue this discussion on Black business. Mr. Reed is a native of, oh gosh, another one.
Don't start.
Another one.
Don't start.
Mr. Reed, no, first I heard the gentleman is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. And then now I'm reading and it says that, please, Mr. Reed, introduce yourself.
All over, Kian. Tell us, we're all over the place.
We are all over. Curtis, I appreciate everyone and the ability and opportunity to be with you tonight on Caribbean Feedback. And if you must know, I'm from Jamaica.
Blows and skirt. Blow.
The man dapping hair. All right. Mr. Reed.
I am from Jamaica, sir. I reside in Atlanta.
You reside in Atlanta, yes, sir. Atlanta, Georgia. Tell us what it is you do. Why? How is it we blessed with your presence this evening? What do you do? Such a young gentleman, and yet still you in business. You seem to have grasped that concept for quite some time now. Tell us, shed some light on the importance of first education, because a lot of us tend to just think we could jump into business. We mentioned that earlier on about some people think that I can go open up a restaurant because I can cook some good stew peas. And they run and they open a restaurant. But then they can't cook rice, they can't make juice, they can't do anything else. But they could cook stew peas. And they think that that's the formula for running a successful business. We throw around the word entrepreneur today very loosely. And anybody think they can just jump out there and open up a business without first educating themselves. And I'm not so much talking about a formal education. That has its place. But tell us the importance of proper education before one steps out there and ventures into the business world.
Well, that's a great question to kickstart things tonight. We got an opportunity to chat yesterday, and I expressed a little bit about my background. Both here, going to Georgia State and Emory. The formal education. But I also mentioned something called Street Life College, which I believe everybody is familiar with. And it's really the notion and the sense that the world is truly our oyster. The world, if you make it your sponge, you can absorb from every place, in every way, in whatever shape and form that you really package it in and choose to absorb. But I definitely like to say that I think that when it comes to education, I think that we have to look at the simplest things in front of us. And I think that, I'm happy that we have Dr. Judith and Karin here because for me, one of my first and strong lessons came from my mother, in how she ran the house, right? In how she loved, right? In how she cared for me. And then also the motivation that she instilled to better myself. One of the things that she told me that I never forget, that she wanted me to become better than she was. And that's something that was ingrained in me from a child until now, wherein I can peg, those words when I was a little boy to know to say that, I've continued to absorb from life, use the things that she has taught me, as well as mentors, family, friends, my dad, my pastors growing up. But it's just seeing education in action. That's how the best I could describe it. In that we have to look and see where in our communities, in our households, where people are teaching, right? And I like what Mr. Barnes was talking about in terms of him being an information broker, because we have the distinct privilege to absorb information and to share information, right? And so when I look at my personal example in her and her motivation, I think about education as something that it's lifelong, for sure, because you never stop and you have to be inquisitive to learn. And I think when you're inquisitive, then it forces you to expand, because you can't absorb everything and just keep it in, right? You become like a stale pond. You want to make sure that it's flowing through you, and that whatever information you have, you regurgitate it, give it to somebody, you teach somebody, and keep on getting, right? And just listening to the discourse tonight, it's been extremely powerful. I've learned a lot. Even though I wasn't born in 1967, it was nice. It was nice going down memory lane just to talk about Tulsa and talk about Marcus Garvey and just the influences that are currently shaping us today. And so, just to package up everything in terms of education, it's education in action. What you're learning, how you exercise it daily.
Kian, hi. I appreciate all that you've just said. I value all you've just said. I want you to distinguish yourself by telling people what your educational process was. I don't want you to just bypass that and say, the street. Tell us about your formal education, and then we can go into.
That's not a problem at all. I really tried to be modest, but since you drew me out,
I don't need to be.
Happy to share. So, for those of you who grew up in Jamaica, you probably know this wonderful institution in Ligoni called Campion College, and I started some of my education there before I migrated to Atlanta, and I did my undergraduate degree in chemistry. I did some computational chemistry there where I was doing molecular modeling. So that was fun. I worked under Donald Hammelberg, was my PI, and he was just doing a lot in terms of molecular modeling at that time, a premier leader. And so I got a lot of that learning from there. I even had an organic chemistry professor called Keith Pascoe. He was Jamaican as well. And, he used to crack the whip because, he wanted a lot from, his countrymen and women. So, I had good influences there. And, I got a full ride scholarship at Georgia State.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I'm very grateful for that. Gave me a good start. And, I'm truly indebted to one of the professors there, Dr. Dabney Dixon, who, she was the one that offered the scholarship, and she provided a lot of tutelage and guidance and mentorship. I was so great to speak with her a couple months ago. And just to see that, into some of the things that you're talking about, the relationships and how it's continued learning over time, and so I did my undergrad at Georgia State, and then I drove down the road to Emory, where I was in the PhD program doing chemistry again. And so I left before completing the PhD, and I got a master's degree in physical chemistry, and I continued doing computational modeling there, where I was doing some simulations on anti-cancer peptides. And that was really, really great research. You know, I've had family who have lost due to cancer. You know, I've had family who beat cancer. My own mother beat cancer, and I walked through that journey with her. So it was really an eye-opener for me to actually studying this disease and looking at treatments and therapies that, you know, could combat it. So that's my formal education. And then, you know,
wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah,
wonderful. And how old are you now? 22?
22. No, I'm not ashamed. I'm 29.
Oh my gracious.
29.
29. Oh.
I think my stock's older than that. Oh my goodness.
You think what?
I think my stocks are older than that.
Well, you know, Keon, I worked at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center.
Oh, really?
I worked there for 10 years. I'm so, listen, I'm going to tell you, I felt it such a privilege. I mean, I'm listening to you and you're saying these computational molecular stuff and all this stuff. And I worked there for 10 years and I had the greatest, to me, it's just, when I left, I wrote them a letter and I told them, thank you for the honor and privilege of having worked there. Because like you're talking, I am so fascinated and I'm so grateful to see a young Black man that's off the chain. Awesome.
I want to thank you personally. I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer in 2017. I apparently didn't get the memo that I was sick because I felt fine. You know, nobody wrote me the memo. I was well taken care of because of the work you do. So let me say a personal thank you. And now I am alive to annoy Dr. Judith here and marry she. Now that I know she brother.
Oh,
so now
Lord.
I have an in.
Oh,
but
Lord.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work.
Wonderful.
It is needed. It is needed most of all in our community.
Yes, that's true.
Because for most of us, it's not. I was walking around, you know, here I am. I'm Ivy League educated moron walking around. I say, I'm wondering why my back hurting, you know, and I can't figure out. I lifting weights, but yeah, I must have pulled a muscle, and I had this stuff traveling all over my body.
Wow.
Mucinous adenocarcinoma.
Wow.
You know, and because of the work you do, I'm still here. So thank you, young brother, and keep doing it.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, and the STEM and scientific community, very, very appreciative for all the great work that, you know, they're doing, you know, and then continuing to do. While I've taken a small vacation from the STEM field, you know, it's something that I really do believe and love because of just the work that I was privileged to be a part of. And I know the continued impact that it's making.
Wonderful.
Can you tell us about your current job and your business entity?
Yes, absolutely. So after I left grad school, I worked at a chemical company for a little bit. I was a teacher at Oxford College for 4 months. I was teaching Gen Chem, both lecture and the lab. That was fun, but that was only for a short stint before I got the opportunity to move to FISERV. Make sure I pronounce that, Karin. So it's FISERV, right? It's the financial services and payment company. Not Pfizer, you know, the drug company.
Right.
So I got the opportunity with FISERV to come in as a proposal manager. And that was a really good experience. You know, I work predominantly on government proposals, merchant processing proposals, and I work with some enterprise clients as well, you know, like McDonald's and others. And then I was fortunate to have the opportunity to transition into a new role last fall, where I became a senior product manager for our Clover point of sale product, where I currently commercialize, our solutions for strategic partnerships. And so, if everybody knows what a Square terminal is when you go into the grocery store, Square is a competitor of ours. Of course, I'm going to say we're better because it's true, right? So our Clover device is really been an outstanding engineered piece of technology that's helping small businesses, especially during this time, during the pandemic, simplifying payments, securing payments, and one of the things that, I've been truly impressed by was how we responded to, the George Floyd murders last year. And, there's a $10 million investment to pump back into small businesses. And, they recently increased that to $50 million. And, there in Coral Springs, in Atlanta, and Brooklyn, out in California, really making an impact. So I'm really excited to be a part of that organization. But while that's all great and important, working for Forrester, the thing that I'm here for, I'm most interested, excited, energized by is this word here on my shirt, Karin Consulting. That's my baby, my small business that will grow into enterprise in the future to come. And so my focus is helping people. My slogan is elevate your position. And so that's my brand promise, to elevate your position. And so I help two primary audiences. One, or small businesses with the skills that I've acquired, through grad school life and working at Fiserv. I offer and support small businesses through proposal and grant development, as well as government contracting, as well as I help or college students or high school students or your modern professionals with resume development, cover letter development, as well as interview prep. And so I'm really a consulting and writing firm, and I'm always excited just to give back to the community, making sure that, we can empower each other. And so happy to be here to share on that and anything else. My life is an open book to you all.
So, but tell us, what was it that caused this transition from chemistry to consulting? They seem to be two opposite sides of the spectrum. How did you manage to go from one to the other?
There's a simple, short answer, and there's a long, elaborate answer. Which do you want?
Just make
one, please, and thank you.
The simple one? All right, I'll give you both. The simple answer is money. Because, while I was there in my transition, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for the skill set that I had here in Atlanta, and I wasn't ready to move at the time. And so it was great to step into the world of business. But even prior to that, I've always had an entrepreneur mindset, heart, passion, wherein, I did multi-level marketing. I owned a online football website with some of my friends. And so, there's always been that bug inside of me to own my own business, create generational wealth, and also, produce and get a better, quality of life. But I think that, my primary drive in terms of this transition, not only just working at Fiserv, but really the stemming and the nucleus for Karin Consulting was just my heart for helping people. It started with resumes and, just helping friends, family, and say, hey, you should make this tweak, and, this sounds better, and doing my own research and trying to help people, make that next step within their career path. And, I said, I think Mr. Barnes, or someone said it earlier, like if you have the skill, figure out how you can utilize it and market it, right? And so that's really how, my passion and heart stemmed into the business. And, working through that process, I now have the distinct, privilege to help other people. And so it's really my heart that gave birth to the business. And it's expanded, and it hasn't been easy because I've had to learn. I've done a lot of it myself, from website development, setting the meetings, working through with the clients, having the difficult clients, and then the great ones, and just navigating that process. I think as we all see, it's just life, right? So that's where I really would say underscore, this transition from chemistry to business is that, it's really been just that passion and that heart to come into this area. But I also believe that I was wrestling in chemistry, right? Because while I was good at chemistry, I felt that there was like a gap missing, right? And so when I stepped and, made that leap and worked through that transition into business, I could feel like that connection now, wherein there is a more direct path to me influencing and impacting someone's life. Not saying chemistry and the research won't do it, but I'm a super extrovert, an empath, love emotions and connecting with people. And so I realized that this new opportunity, this venture and this phase of my life created a whole lot of opportunities for me to express myself truly in the way that I am.
Well, for someone so young, you seem very accomplished. Was the need for self-sufficiency stressed in your household while you were growing up?
That's a great question. It was, and I'm proud to say, I had to wash my own clothes. I had to cook my own food because I love to eat. Right. But it's always that sense of, I came from a family of educators. Most of my family, were teachers. But it was always that next step to better yourself. Right. And so while in the confines of your home and you have the internal education, with those factors, and you're going to school and getting other things, it was always that rung that I have to climb because I need to get higher. And what does higher look like, right? And I felt as if, and I think everybody would agree, is that as you open new doors, as you step or you climb higher, new realities became possible, right? And I think that's one of the things when you talk about self-sufficiency, is that the more you dig or the more you climb or the more you unravel things, it's the greater you see an opportunity to venture to a new frontier. And so I think that that's what birthed me trying different things, failing at a couple of things, and getting to understanding that there's a balance in life, but enjoy the process, right? And so that's been one of the processes for me, just walking through the self-sufficient journey. And now that I have my wife, I have to be self-sufficient with her too, so that's
how do you create balance though? How do you create balance?
I want to come back to you with, you talked about generational wealth, which I think is extremely important. Everybody, talking from somebody from my perspective, I got $1 over lunch money, generational wealth, being able to not just pass it on, but it will sustain itself generation after generation. And it sounded like what I heard you saying is that this is what you want to achieve, and you're well on your way. What advice would you give to people your own age or younger than you to achieve that?
I really love this forum because you guys are pulling and extracting. I had a meeting with my interns about 2 weeks ago, and I invited one of my friends from work to come on. She's in marketing, and I have my interns are business administration / marketing majors or so forth, and so a similar question was asked to her, and her answer was invest early. And so if I were to unpack that as it relates to generational wealth, the first thing is that you can't invest if you don't have anything, right? You can't expect food from a tree unless you plant the tree. And so it's really, in terms of that first step, it has to be acquiring information or acquiring resources, right? And that's why education is so important, whether it's the formal training or getting a trade, getting a skill. I used to do welding when I was younger too, you know, so it's finding the knack and the passions and the thing that makes you thrive, right? You know, my cousin, he's an engineer, never liked math, but I'm telling you, he mixes music, you know, and he's well on his way to getting a Grammy, right?
Wow.
And so it's acquiring the information, learning yourself, so then you get that asset, that first piece of asset that you can use. And then I believe then you need to find people or conducive environments so that you can plant that seed, right? And so it's just a myriad of ways that this can go, right? It could be investing in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency when I was younger. It might be buying a dilapidated house, taking 3-4 years and, you know, refurbish, renovate that. It might be starting out your lemonade stand and building it up, or building a spice business, or, you know, selling used goods, like whatever that small thing is. Then because you found the asset and you found the resource, the mentorship and the guidance, that's extremely important. You found a great environment to put it in, then you're on your way. That's just the start. But the key, I believe, to generational wealth is something called consistency. If there's no consistency in the process that you're working through, you cannot create generational wealth, because generational, it incites and invites the mindset and the thought that takes time. And it's an extended period, right? And so I believe that with all that, you cultivate that, have safeguards, have people who who hold you accountable to the process. Don't give up, and be consistent. And so I've seen areas in my life where I've not been consistent, even though I've loved something, and where I've lost because of it. But I remember telling myself, if only I was consistent, what would have been the results? And so that's where I would say the kind of this package generational wealth. There's just a couple of thoughts I think is important. You know, mentorship, the people, make sure you have a resource that you can use and sell, right? And just be consistent at it. Take your time, work through it, and get somebody to help you.
One more. This might sound strange, but were you born in August?
No, I was born in the great month of March.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
You co-authored a book with Dr. Calvin Ellison and Jamal Davis. Jamal will be on feedback next week. Called Maximizing Your Influence. What was your goal or intent in getting involved with that project?
Yes, maximizing your influence. I think it's a self-revelation to understand that everyone has value. It's bare minimum, right? And so I think that too many of us feel that and think that and believe and understand that we are irrelevant, which is not true. I think the essence of who we are as an individual, it distinguishes and definitely demonstrates that we have importance, we have value, and we can contribute in some way, some shape, some form, right? And so I think that when we think about that book about, you know, your influence, it's important to understand who you are, right? And it's also important. Did I lose you? No.
No, we see you. We see
Lose
you.
who?
Okay.
You're right there.
Yeah, you're all good.
See you.
Okay, no, what happened?
Sometimes it give that effect, yes, but you're good.
There was no interruption on our side.
No, an update popped up on my computer and just wiped out the screen. But yeah, so, you know, when it comes to influence, and me even thinking about my personal life, I was very shy when I was growing up. And, you know, I went to what do you call it? It was an after-school program. It's the Junior Center in Jamaica, if anybody is familiar with that, and there I did dance, drama, music. I played the recorder, I played drums, and I think in that experience, just working and collaborating with people, I kind of found myself, broke out my shell a little bit. And even when I migrated here, it was really that culture shock in terms of I don't know where I fit in this process. Well, I know I had a good head on my shoulder, and I know what I wanted in the school system, and so I continued to work hard and I made connections, right? And I have some of those connections to this day. And so when I think about influence, I realized that there's times when I didn't feel like I was important or I was popular, but the fact that I had my Jamaican accent and that was a Jamaican kid, and then, people started to know me, and, I would help people with their work, or, we get into a group, or we'd have Model UN, and they're like, oh, wow, he articulated that really good, or something else, and just these little things, these little expressions of yourself begin to, I would say, taint, taint is a bad word, but really leave an impression into on someone's mind, someone's heart, in who they are. And so I think that when it comes to influence, it's being yourself at the core. It's learning, overcoming your challenges, and don't compromise who you are. I think that the world it's really gonna place a lot of pressures on you that forces you to conform. But I think when it comes to your influence, you're strongest when you're your true self. And so that's what, it encourage audiences and people when it comes to influence and maximizing that true nature of who you are, is find yourself, know who you are, and put together things that are going to be helpful so that you can do that.
Just for the sake,
go ahead, Sam. We haven't heard from you all night, so.
Yeah, but what do you mean you haven't heard from me all night? What are you trying to say?
From you. Join the conversation. Come on in. I thought you were asleep for a while. Come on in.
For the sake of the audience, you're a chemist. You did living and non-living things.
Yes.
And at some point, you believed that something was missing and you ended up in the world of business.
Yes.
What is the end product of the business market you're in right now? That, and what motivated you to move from, okay, you're doing the research and the science, and you believe that, okay, you needed to add the business component to what it is you're doing, just for the sake of the audience?
Yeah, I don't believe that my chemistry background and my business acumen and where I'm at right now are exclusive in nature. I think they're actually a perfect blend. And so I've seen that, like, the chemistry has been like the underpinning for me to go about things in an analytical way, right? Form structures, frame everything out, make sure that there's understanding for me. And I believe that's helping the world of business, from an organization standpoint, order, process flow, working through the mechanics of things. So I think it's become like this beautiful marriage for me, which has made, my perspective a little bit different. And so where I want to scale and take that is that KRC will be a global brand wherein we're in multiple countries, helping businesses and helping professionals elevate their position. And for me, what that looks like is creating more stable communities wherein the Black community, especially for me, and it's just being close to my heart, and the Caribbean community as well, find opportunities, means, and ways to become sustainable first, and then to grow. One of my end goals is really to start a center in Jamaica wherein it's going to be a free facility for the youth, the kids, the high schoolers as well, to come, and they have all the resources to help them be successful. You don't have to pay for a computer to go on the internet. If you have a lecturer, if you have a distinguished speaker flying in from overseas, from Germany, China, wherever, right? They can come you have a place where you can come and listen to this lecture, you can learn. I want to make sure that there's a swimming pool and a football field there, because all work and no play, you know the rest, right? And so I want it to be a center that is just a perfect hybrid and mix, that is a safe place and space that recreates much of the memories that I had as a boy growing up, but also making sure those that lack the resources and the opportunities, that gap is not only bridged, but it's eradicated, right? We should all have the same opportunity. And that's when I think about wealth, and the top 5% have most of the wealth. I'm always of the mindset: why can't it be trickled down? Why can't it be dispersed more evenly? And so, long term, that's what I'd like to do. And it may take me beyond KRC and into other ventures, right? But I want to make sure that I'm helping professionals and helping small businesses to scale, do better, and people do exceptionally well, knowing that they have the resources backing them.
Awesome.
Earlier on, you spoke about accountability. Do you have like a circle of influence, a power group that you meet with every so often? And if you do, tell us the importance of that.
Yes, I actually have a couple mentors, and they all serve in like different areas, whether it's spiritual, financial, business related. And that's how I've kind of compartmentalized things, because I believe that your mentor should have a core skill, and that when you go to that person, it's irrefutable that this is quote unquote truth to help you and guide you in that path, right? And so me personally, I've just split it up a little bit so I can draw from other people, and you'll find in sometimes that they overlap in different areas as well. But I meet with them ever so often. I make sure that I'm talking through my struggles, whether that's with me as a husband, me as a businessman, or me as a worker. I have my a couple bosses at Fiserv, where I'm going to them, I'm talking about career, right? I'm talking to them about challenges and projects and what I can do better. I'm always trying to evaluate and critique myself. And then I have an amazing group of friends, and I'm proud to say that I have maybe about 6 or 7 like young men that are like-minded. Some of them, I almost feel like all of them are doing better than me, to be honest, and that's something that compels me to work harder. It's something that encourages me, and it's something that provides and creates a balance, so that, I can continue to grow. So I definitely say it's extremely important to have accountability, keep you in line. And I think that the word that is sometimes often forgotten when we say accountability is the word vulnerability, because you can't be accountable if you're not vulnerable.
Amen.
To me at least, right? And I think it's getting to the root and the core of who you are in that specific area, that specific expertise, and allow someone to dig and scrub and say, hey, this got to go, or you need this. And, it's just always there to help sharpen you and help you to get better. So
it's often said that your network is your net worth.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You mentioned
so in
about
terms of the
young people. I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to. He was talking about young people, and I think for young people of color, it's very hard to, get yourself in the right place, to do what you've done, or succeed. I was very lucky. I had some very strong parents, very strong grandparents. What would you say to a 17-year-old coming out of high school, getting ready to go to college, who's unsure of her or himself? How would you approach that child?
I heard Eric Thomas say this many years ago, the hip hop preacher, You said you have to want it more than ear.
Mhm.
You have to want it more than ear. I think that there is sometimes a level of complacency, and I think paired with that also is a lack of guidance, right? I think that's where, my generation are the ones coming behind me. They're stumbling, trying to find their way. And then I believe just like the media, social media, opportunities for, fast money or whichever, those things have kind of pulled people in so many different areas that they miss out on some core principles and foundational things within themselves and in their growth process. But I think for the younger generation, I think it's so keen to have a good mentor. I can't emphasize and stress it enough. I think that the challenge is that they don't know how to build relationships, right? And so I think where it kind of forces them, which is not a bad place, because I think that technology and everything has allowed us this great advancement in information, is that they have to utilize the resources, whether it's YouTube, finding somebody who's reputable on YouTube, or going on Clubhouse, going into these rooms and listening to people talk about government contracting, media industry, talking about your faith, talking about social issues. While you may not have a specific mentor, it's so important to get constructive information and be able to digest it and be able to talk through it. And so, if you're a young person listening, highly encourage, Google some people, see what they're doing, see their impact, see the results, right? And then I would say connect with that if you can't find like a mentor, because it's so important to get the guidance, and it's not all about the money. Your character is so important. I think that
I got two pieces of advice, Mr. Reed. The first one was you have more to do than you have to say. And the second piece was from my father. He said very simply, one drop of ink can destroy a glass of water. But one drop of water can't destroy a buckle of ink. So remember your color, remember who you are, and go in the world.
So I still didn't grasp what you're providing. Is it a product or a service? What's your end? What's happening in the end? Is it a service you're providing?
It's a service.
Okay, and it's more of So tell me about the service. Well, you've been speaking about the service pretty much, but what is the in terms of the industry that you're in? What is the advantage that you're bringing into the table that helps you to compete with other people in the industry that you're in?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it has come from just my background, both from chemistry, working through grants. I was awarded the NSF GRFP fellowship, is the most prestigious fellowship in the country, and I work with my professor, work through the research to do that. I help with grants that we had to write for research funding. And then when I moved into Fiserv, I worked on a lot of proposals, right? And so just the intersect of those things, I have a very, very strong, acumen from a writing standpoint, as also from like a technical standpoint, wherein, if I'm going in to help someone with their proposal, a grant or government contracting, I have the experience, right? I might be younger than others in the field, in the industry, but I do have the experience that can help others. And I'll share a bit of good news with everyone. I worked with a client in January. They were going after a grant within the city of Atlanta, and it was their first time applying for a grant. And I was so happy when she called me like 2 Sundays ago and told me that she got an email that she won the grant for $25,000.
For 25, how much?
25,000.
25,000. Okay.
Yeah, 25,000. She's a small business. She provides hydrotherapy, yoga, massage therapy, a whole list of holistic care and holistic services. And me just being able to think about a proposal structure, what a reviewer may be looking for, and then tying that experience from what I've seen in my background to the services that she provides to produce a compelling document that would help her win that proposal. And so my background helps inform my clients and those that I'm working with so that they can be successful.
So with all that you do, Keon, tell me something where the importance of balance. To stay busy in so many different areas and still at the same time connect or have that deep connection with your family. I'm not talking extended family. Within the household, tell me how you create that balance, that family work balance, and how the importance of doing that.
That's an extremely great question. I'll be vulnerable. It's hard. It's something that I struggled with for many, many years. You know, when I was growing up, I was very active in church, and, you know, to some detriment at my house, and my parents would say, you know, like, you run gone at church and, you know, this don't do or something else don't get taken care of. And, you know, but it was just really my love for God, my love for just fellowship with church and just wanting to do something there. That kind of forced me into a place where I was imbalanced, right? And I saw when I got to grad school, there was church, there was grad school, right? That's enough in itself. And then I was chasing my wife at the time. And then I started, you know, working with my friends on that website, you know, trying to build generational wealth, you know, because I'm like, you know, like, chemistry won't be it, you know. I need supplemental income, you know, multiple streams of income. And so what started to happen is that things started to suffer, right? Because there was an imbalance in, you know, trying to do everything. And, you know, one of the lies I told myself was that if Keon doesn't do it, it's not going to be done right. And I realized there was a great sense of pride that I had to battle with and deal with. To understand that, hey, I have to let go of the reins, because what started to happen was that I was starting to be sucked out. You know, all these different areas of life, you know, pulling me, then, you know, started to diminish me. And the result of that, you know, and I said it earlier, but I don't know if you caught it, I was in a PhD program where I left with my master's, right? A part of that, I believe, stemmed from the imbalance, you know, working on other things, you know, not fully committing as much time as I needed for a program. While it was difficult, there was much more that I could have done, I believe, to substantiate staying in the program, because my committee, they asked me to leave because, you know, they were concerned with the rate of progress and me staying in the program too long and not being able to finish. And so I won't say it was a regret, it was a lesson, right? Because after battling through like the mental anguish and, you know, feeling like a failure, you know, I stepped into a place where I realized balance was needed. I can't do everything for church. I have a wife now, you know, I have to make sure that I nurture that relationship. And so I got into a place where I started to cut stuff out. And last year, you know, on this note, I was active and doing all these different things until I literally got to a place where I wasn't sleeping well, right? Mentally, 11, 12 o'clock at night, my mind's racing, can't sleep, watching TV, the blue lights are there, and, you know, it's 1, 2 o'clock, I'm going to bed, I have to get up early again. And then I'm sitting in front of the computer for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours at work, whether that's 5-serve and, you know, my 9 to 5, and then I have to turn over here, and then I have to start my 5 to 10. And I realized that this was not healthy. And so for me, I got to a place where I mentally, you know, I was checked out, and I realized that it was affecting my household, you know, in terms of what I had to do, you know, with my wife, you know, and then I was snapping at her right? And not realizing that the stress of things, not being able to relax. And so I just started to cut things out. I literally, I woke up one Monday morning, I sent 3 text messages. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to take a break. I need a sabbatical, just to check out and take care of me, take care of my mental health. And so I think that, and I'm happy that Mark is here because he understands the true meaning of this word called audit. If you don't audit your life, right? If you don't audit the experiences that you're dealing with, right, then you end up into a place where there's an imbalance. And so Curtis, I would say that's really my honest truth, in that something I'm still working at, because I feel that I have a schedule, but I don't follow it. And so I think that when I do get to a place where I can follow my schedule, then I think there'll be better balance. But it's a work in progress, but you have to identify where your shortcomings are.
You said something very interesting, Mr. Reed. Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency.
When did you start cutting things out? I'm sorry. Or you had stopped? I'm sorry,
no,
Mark.
I apologize because everything's on delay. And even my hearing aids are on delay also. So it is the first delay and then the second delay.
Okay,
he said something about consistency.
Okay.
And now I'm a madman. I wake up dark o'clock in the morning. I up every morning 4:30. All right. I do my exercise. I make my breakfast. For many years, it was always the same breakfast. And I start work 6 o'clock. Very consistent. And you also mentioned audit, to audit yourself and say, all right, I'm consistent, but am I a consistent madman?
Yeah.
Serious stuff. Serious.
Before we run away, when you said you started to cut things out. Was that earlier this year, or that was late last year?
That was November last year. If I'm not mistaken, November 17th. I remember it distinctly because I got to a breaking point, and I said it's either going to be me or the responsibilities, and I chose me.
What is interesting, and I'm not a horoscope person, but they're saying that, there's just a little twist, and it's just something to think about in your spare time. They're saying that we've just entered the age of the Aquarius. Right? And the objective of it is that you're going to be, instead of you doing everything yourself, you're going to start sharing the load. And that's part of the objective. And it's just interesting that it's happening around that time. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting milestone that you could probably look at when you have time. Now, I'm not into that thing, but there might be some kind of truth to it in terms of that.
I'm excited. I'm sorry, Dr. Henry. I've got to say this. As a mental health therapist, as a much older lady than you are, Mr. Keon Reed, I could be your mother. Actually, I could probably be your grandmother too. Anyway, the truth of the matter is,
you need to be my wife. It's a lie she tell.
Your blouse and spread. Leave me alone. But I have to tell you that it's a joy to listen to you. What I love about you most of all is your vulnerability. That's a part of me that confuses people. Like they say, she's a strong woman. And then when I tell them what hurts, it's like, oh my God, she hurts? Yeah, I hurt. But the audit, one of my older sisters says to me all the time, people have a lot of issues with me because I'm consistent. Freaks them out. Because what they realize that if I'm consistent, I'm going to hold them accountable.
Yes.
You see, when you're inconsistent, you can't hold yourself or anybody accountable. So they're afraid of me. Literally, I don't have a lot of friends because they know if they're in my midst, I want them to correct me. and I want to correct them. I want iron to sharpen iron. A lot of
Yes.
what you're saying is biblical. A lot of what you said is straight from the Bible. Even what Sam just said, we're in a stage now, like somebody wrote yesterday, it's the greatest time to be serving God right now. Because what is actually happening now, I don't know if you're seeing it, but I'm seeing it, is that the Bible talks about the riches of the wicked is laid up for the righteous.
Yep.
It's literally happening in my life. I get things that I'm not even seeking after. But Matthew 6:33 and 34, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And I keep trying to pass that word on because you have it, but you have it in a very honest way. You fail and you recognize it, and you fall and you get up again. And that is what we often talk about on this program, about denial. You don't deny when you see something wrong with yourself. And that is one of the greatest gifts that you could, especially at your age, to see I'm failing, I'm messing up. And that is where, I'm going to get in touch with you because maybe you can do something for me in terms of something that I'm trying to achieve, in terms of your consulting business. I think one of the things you already possess is that you are, first of all, you're self-accountable. That is powerful. I also think to some degree you're probably self-encouraging. I have to encourage myself. I literally pat myself on the shoulder because I don't have a lot of people, that are, oh, she got it going on. I'm a human being. I got rough days. I need that. So I do it for myself. I get to the point I've called myself honey and sweetheart because I gotta encourage me. I said David encouraged himself.
Honey and sweetheart.
What did you say?
You say honey and sweetheart?
To myself. I don't know nobody call me that, so I call myself. But what I'm telling you, as a therapist especially, and as a mother to a 24-year-old, almost 25-year-old, that's why I asked you when you were born, because I see my son, I hear my son. He started a business very young. At 9, he started a car wash business. And he's always had that entrepreneurial attitude. At 9 years old, he said to me, can we buy some receipt books? Because I want to give my clients a receipt.
Oh, wow.
And then he wanted to make a schedule for his workers. He hired a little young fella, about a year younger. And the first time Karin made some money, the little boy presented himself and he wanted half of what he made. So I had to, I was his mentor. So I had to step in and tell his worker, listen, he bought the supplies to wash the cars. The name is Ty's Car Wash. Your name is nowhere there. You're a worker. You can't get half of his money. So, exactly. And so I hear you, and I get excited about people's growth, and so I'm excited just to know you exist, just to know that you exist. God bless you.
So, gentlemen, ladies, ladies, let's do a round table. And I want to ask a question. We're going to bring it back off and close out with Keon. Are we doing the best we can with the tools that we have available? Karin.
I keep on telling you, sir, that when I have my closing thoughts, don't try to hone me and pigeon and put me in a tunnel or a funnel or whatever the heck it is. But tell us, I have my own closing process. Thank you. Back to what Dr. Judith just said something that I wanted to touch on. That
Sam,
not everybody.
Sam, give me control to that button over there.
Not everybody.
Give me control. Give me control on the side up button.
Hold on, man. We keep it back here. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. The world certainly needs the workers, the employees.
Right.
But for the person who wants to follow one or more paths to entrepreneurship, I think that we need to be as supportive of as possible, whether we're in their personal lives, family, friends, business, colleagues, and help them to promote whatever they're going for, as long as it's something positive. The entrepreneurial spirit is as strong in my mind as the artist who wants to put a brush to a canvas,
yes,
lyrics to a paper, or has clay that he or she wants to mold. I choose never to block anyone from expressing himself or herself. And I'll do anything that I can to assist in that effort. That's my closing. I don't know where you think about where you talk about. I done.
You still have to answer my question. Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough?
I'm trying to do more and more, which is why I am open to the various segments that we've been doing on this show. We talk a lot behind the scenes. Sometimes we're like falling asleep and still talking about what can we do to promote you, Keon, your colleagues, your friends who are doing like-minded things. What can we do as people of color, as Black people, as people of Caribbean descent, to promote each other, to build each other up? And stop, we've used the term on the show so many times, we refuse to have a mindset like crabs, that crab mentality of we have to crawl over you. No, we're not with that. I don't know if that doesn't necessarily come with age, but we're all older than you are. But I've always felt like, let me try to support the next person, because your success does not mean my failure, and vice versa.
Amen.
Understand what I'm saying?
Amen.
That's right.
So yeah,
That's right.
I think I'm trying to do as much as I can do, and I know that I have like-minded people on this platform trying to do the same thing. Are you happy now? Are you good? May I answer your question? Me don't want to hear about it.
Mark, take me home.
All right, easy. I said what my father and my grandfather said to me, and I have Brother Reed. I want to leave this with you. You have more to do than you will ever have to say. Just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to talk about it. You have to work. If you didn't say, if you are mute, you're doing it. And keep in mind, this one drop of ink can spoil a glass of water, but one drop of water will never spoil a bottle of ink. And you just keep that with you. Keep that with you. And go ahead. Keep doing it, brother. Keep doing it. Because I look at you and you make my struggles worthwhile. Worthwhile. Close right there.
Wow.
Dr. Judith.
Wow. Thank you.
60 seconds.
Listen, 60 seconds today.
That's one lie that's never gonna happen. I'm gonna marry you.
Listen. There's so much here, and I think this session here, in a way, touches so many of the other sessions that we have had. Mental health wise, spiritual wise, financial, everything has been touched tonight. And I think the way I live, as Curtis asked, are we doing it? I live a life that daily I challenge myself, or I'm challenged and I respond to it. I audit myself, sometimes a little too much. My son says I need to ease up on that a little bit. But I am constantly trying to make a difference wherever I show up. I go to Walmart and I ask one of the young people to ask them where something is, whatever. And one of them will feel that they'll stop what they're doing and go and find it for me. That is colossal to me. Young people, you're talking about teenagers. And so what I do is I get their names. I write to Walmart. I get online and I write a recommendation. I write a lovely note and say, I said, this, whoever Keon took the time to show me what I needed to see. And I talk to them. It's about giving back. I have a right. I have a responsibility to give back. And you don't know this about me, Keon, but 2 years ago, the Lord showed me that I could paint pictures and paintings, and I'd never done anything like that before. When he said it to me, I said, yeah, I can paint my toenails, but I don't know anything about painting on a canvas. And since then, I've painted hundreds of paintings and sold paintings. When he gave me that message, I was 65. I'm 67 now. And so a new thing has come into my life because I'm willing to be stretched. And that's something that you obviously are willing to do. And so what I'm saying in essence here is that I tell that story. The Lord told me, he said, tell that story. Because every time I tell that story, I promise you, somebody says, you know, I used to sew, I'm going to start sewing again. You know, I used to paint, I'm going to start painting again. So it's not about me. What is it that I bring to this world? I'm an encourager. I'm a mentor for a lot of people. I'm a mentor for people that are younger and older. It's a range. And so the thing is that I will end by saying this. Let no one define you. But my way of thinking, you have mentioned his name. Let God define you. I found my definition in the word. And so Psalm 37 told me that he'll grant me the desires of my heart if I keep focused on him. And so the reality for me is similar to yours, even though you're much younger. I have a force within me, and I tell people it's called, the word dynamite. The word dunamis comes from the word dynamite. I have dunamis power. It is in all of us, but I'm one of those bold creatures that I claim it. And even when things are rough, even when I don't feel well, even when I fall, and I've fallen, I am now getting beauty for ashes. And you know why? In all my foolishness, I have been consistent. I have been so consistent that one of my sisters, she said, I have never known anyone so consistent. And like I said earlier, it frightens people because I hold myself accountable, and they know if they stay around me more than 5 minutes, they're gonna hold them accountable too. But I'm so grateful. And Karin and Curtis, I have to say that I said before, and Sam, the discussions that we have had on this broadcast each time, I applaud the three of you, especially that you continue to bring people on to talk that has sense, that makes sense, that brings a trove of experience and good stuff. And the people that watch and listen, it's the fact that they will, on a Tuesday night at 9:30, they come and they visit, they listen, and they make comments. It might not, and this is something that I'm so concerned about us as a race of people. It's not about the mic. It's about sharing the information. And if one person catches it, that's all that matters. And eventually the mic will come. I'm an ordained minister, and people ask me, why don't I open a church? God never told me to open a church. But I tell you one thing, I talk anywhere I go. Publix, Walmart, anywhere. And I'm way over my 60 seconds. 60 minutes.
She heard 60 minutes.
She can't count. She can't count. She can't count. She knows she can't count. It's a lie she tells you. She says
I never said I could do it. I never said I could.
It's a lie. I sit there. I watching the clock.
Mark.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Mark. Mr. Mark Chase. When I speak,
Judith,
to you, I'm crazy. Does it make sense?
Judith, Mark had
yes, sir.
time.
Excuse me.
Your 60 seconds. The guests need to go. Say what you have to say.
I was just asking Mr. Chase a question.
No, ask him in the after show.
Okay. All right. I consider myself spanked.
Let me just put my pointers in. I believe this was an award-winning show.
Yeah, good stuff.
It was very, very informative. Normally when you see the chat not really doing much, after a little while, they're really absorbing information and fall asleep.
I believe that.
So it's either the two. But I have a chapter in my book called Self-Efficacy. And I see a lot of it here manifesting itself. And what also comes to mind is the Egyptian tree of life. And what happens with the Egyptian tree of life, if you're not really aware of it, it's a tree and you have some birds looking this way, and that is the sunrise over there. And then you have like one or two birds looking this way, and as the sun set. And so we're all on this little spectrum of time. And wherever you fit on the tree, whether you're looking at the sunrise or you started to look at the sunset, you're on the timeline. So you have to hope that you are on time, or that time is on time with you. And if you're not on time with time, time will be moving and leave you right there. So hopefully we are all on time.
On time.
Because like it or not, we're going to be looking at that sunset, and all of us have to face that sunset at some point or the other, and then it's the next generation. We spoke about legacy and all of that. So, when we talk those things, I think about the, somebody sent me there still. You wake up. All right, so that is my contribution for the evening. I thought this was really good. A lot of times when I'm quiet in the episode, I'm really absorbing the information, and I have to look at this episode again because it was really, really good. Even from with Mr. Barnes in the beginning, coming all the way down. Not all the time we have to fight battles the way people expect us to fight a battle. Sometimes you could, and if there's one drop of ink in the glass of water, you could still drink that glass of water because
you're dirty. I
won't tell you to drink. Don't drink the bottle of ink, but if there is one drop in the bottle of water, still drink that water because you can't throw out the bad water.
I can't talk to you, man.
And that's why we have antibodies. Hold on. You see, you're messing up my whole thing,
I thought you said you're done, but you kept going. You say you're
and that's
done.
why we have antibodies to deal with the ink and other impurities, and we're going to put them white blood cells to work.
Don't bring in a boat, and we're good.
He's in the literal sense, but I got the metaphor.
Sam.
Okay, I got the hidden message in what it is you said, Mr. Reed.
Keon, make that money, man. Make that money, my brother.
Mr. Reed.
Yes, sir. My turn.
A lot has been said tonight from the top of the show, and I was happy that you stayed a spectator and actually absorbed some of the things that was said in the earlier part of the show.
Yeah.
And I do value your invaluable contribution that you brought during your segment. So take us home with your closing arguments and tell us once again that question I asked, the tools that we have available. So many times we tend to think that we don't have enough. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough friends. We're not living in the right city. We tend to look at the lack. We tend to look at the have-nots as opposed to looking at the haves. Are we doing enough with the tools that we have at our disposal? You certainly have. You could have taken some years off and say, you know what, I'm going to relax. I'm going to just chill. There's always time for college. You took advantage of your resources. You took advantage of what was available to you at the time. And you made the very best of that. At 29, your educational accomplishments have way surpassed many who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s. And you've just begun to live. I can only anticipate what you have to offer us in the future. Take us home with your closing arguments, please.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate the time. with everyone on stage here on Caribbean Feedback. I have 2 points to close it. The first one, or this is really a question. Mr. Barnes said something that I was just lost. He said cream surge pants. Does anybody know what that is?
Yes, sir.
Cream surge pants.
Yes. Those were linen, really nice crease pants. You know, it's only a fancy man wear that. And if you rip them, you oh my God, that's 2 weeks pay and an argument.
Well, you forget to mention that he had to use an iron to make the crease.
Yeah, God, no, man. You have to get you can't get the spray starch. You have to get the argo starch and you put it in water and you dunk the pants in the water and you let it dry and then you dunk it again and then run the iron easy.
And when you put it on, you cut yourself.
Look. I love how Mark explained that one. That's good.
Yeah.
So cream surge pants, I officially know what it is.
That's right.
I appreciate that.
It's a nice tan color. You know.
Okay.
If you went into a bank in Brooklyn, you could tell who was West Indian because they had on a cream, the whole suit. All right, you know the manager come out and he got on the cream, and you knew that was the manager, and it was probably Jamaican.
All right, no. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you knew, and that suit, he would move. The suit didn't move with him.
Okay, Kian. Let's
oh man. Well, I appreciate that. All right, so my last question, I think it's a very thoughtful question, Curtis, in that, are we doing enough with the resources that we have? Simple answer is no. And the way that I thought about this was, I don't know if everybody's familiar with this, but, in math, there's something called limits, right? And there's something we have a limit to infinity. And so you'll continue getting close as forever onto infinity, but you never really get to the mark. And I believe that the reason I say no, we're not there is because we should never get there. Amen. There's always thinking about the future, thinking about the past, and acknowledging the present. And I think that as it relates to the resources that we have, the job is never done because we have somebody else to pick up, we have someone else to carry, we have someone else to lead.
Amen.
And so I think that it's just incumbent upon us. We have to be accountable. We continue to learn, continue to teach, and continue to grow together. And so that's what I'll leave with everybody. The work is not done, not by a long shot. And so let's continue to working together. We have all these great minds and business here, and then even those on the chat. So let's continue to find ways and avenues and means to connect in the community and connect with the larger world so that we can build a brighter future.
Awesome.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Earlier on, Sam spoke about time. Let's be honest with ourselves. A lot of us seem to think we need more time, as I spoke about earlier on, with the advantages that we have with this pandemic. We had time. We were in quarantine, locked down with your family. Some of us get to know our family a lot better. Some of us got to know ourselves a lot better during that time. So it's not about us needing more time. It's definitely not time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, the same 7 days in a week. What matters most is how we utilize that time. We talk about money. We all have the money. It's how we choose to spend it. I'm not trying to deny that we don't have responsibilities. Every month you have Mr. Rent, Mr. Mortgage, Mr. Light, Madam Light Bill, Mr. Insurance, and the rest of their bodies, they show up And we tend to them knowing damn well the consequences if we don't pay.
Yes.
So shouldn't we have the same drive and possess the same tenacity and approach to our own dreams and aspirations? We have to approach these things, people, as though they were bills that we must tend to at the end of every month. Because
That's
like
good.
Sam said, some of the birds looking this way at the sunset, and some of the birds looking that way. And wherever you want to place yourself, wherever you are on that spectrum, or wherever you want to lie to yourself and place yourself, thinking that you're here when you're way over here. The way I always say it, there's more glass, there's more sand at the bottom of the hourglass than there is on top. For most of us. I'm 59 years old. Thankful that I was able to reach that milestone a few days ago. I'm not middle-aged. No, I'm not middle-aged. A lot of people my age talk about, oh, I'm middle-aged, 55. How many people you know live to be 110? You're not middle of anything. You're not middle of the road. We have to use this time wisely. I applaud you, Mr. Reed, for what you have done in the short time that you have been here. I applaud you for what you are continuing to do. And I will give you some applause now for what I know you are capable of doing and will do in the future. Thank you for blessing us, gracing us with your presence, your knowledge, your wisdom, and your understanding this evening. I look forward to having you back on this program 5 years from now and telling us some of the things that you have accomplished.
Yeah, man, lend me $10.
Thank you. Thank you.
I gonna
Thank
need
each and
it.
every one of you for being on the show this evening. It's been a pleasure.
Bless.
God bless.